Why I decided to get sober and live a life of sobriety. I get that question a lot, especially working in treatment. I have sponsees, I have people that I take through the work, and it's experience. Because the first consequence of my addiction wasn't enough. My mother whooping me, it wasn't enough. Going to jail wasn't enough. But if I start to put all that stuff together, all that stuff that happened in the streets, I was shot when I was 19. It's a lot of my story I'm gonna get into, but not just yet. But I'm gonna get into a piece of it now on why I decided to get sober. See, my sobriety date is September 4th, 2019. A lot of us know what happened during 2020 with the virus, and I was about 6, 7 months sober at the time. And I remember on the news, people were passing away left and right, and people was going out, getting high, getting drunk, and it just wasn't amusing to me. It wasn't something I wanted to do with my life anymore, and and I stayed sober through it all. You know, I saw good friends of mine going out. The world is ending and all this other stuff they was believing. But the hell they thought that was happening in 2020, I lived that already. Just through my addiction, prison term and stuff like that. I wasn't about to let that situation take me back out to addiction because at that time I was away from it and I could smell my life getting better. I could smell it. I was like, okay. And I knew I was on the right path. So all those experiences piled up to one, and there's a lot. Like I said, I'm gonna get into a lot of my stories, as my channel grows further. It's just about why I decided to get sober. A little bit of street stories, I share a little bit of that. We all understand war stories, but I will qualify just to let you guys know I've been through it. And once again, it's gonna be so much, and my challenge growing. I'm gonna have to share some of this stuff, but I like to focus on recovery because that's the most important part about recovering from addiction. And but I do like to have empathy towards the lifestyle I once lived because some of you watching are still living that lifestyle. So to understand that September 3rd, because remember I said September 4th, 2019, that's when I went into treatment September 3rd. But September 4th was the day I didn't use that day and took a drink or a hit or nothing, weed or nothing since. But September 3rd, the day before, I was sleeping at a park. That's where I was coming from. So if you ever slept outside before, you understand that my life wasn't all so great. you know, I remember sitting down at that park and I was asking myself, like, how did I get here? How did I get to this point in my life? Somebody who played basketball in high school, played varsity for two different high schools, did good in life as far as younger. And I didn't have the best of grades. I graduated high school, but got kicked off the team due to addiction. My weed addiction at 19. Coach found out, gave me an ultimatum. Really, he didn't even kick me right off. He just said, "Stop smoking weed." And I was like, I'm not about to stop. And for a 19-year-old to make that type of decision, I didn't understand what I was walking away from, but I understand to say, looking back, retrospect. But addiction, what it took from me, some of these experiences I'm sharing with you, it's just stacked more trauma on top of trauma, more heartache, more past regrets. And ultimately, it became overwhelming. It was the last straw to break the camel's back was when I was at that park. Wasn't homeless long. Didn't take much. It took about 2 or 3 days sleeping outside. And I was like, I can't do this. And that was my moment of clarity, turning point, per se. Because I walked into that treatment center by myself willingly. Nobody took me there. I walked to the treatment center, then walked in. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have my sister come get me. I didn't have my life coach, some young lady from my past, none of that. I took myself there. That was the type of motivation and the experiences I was feeling, the feelings I was feeling, and very overwhelming position because I walked in. Of course, I had to do detox. I'm a recovered alcoholic, so I was in detox for about 7 days, and it's wild because they had me in a room with a person that was kicking heroin. Anything about heroin and alcohol, they're both body highs. They both play on the body. Your body craves alcohol. Your body craves opiates. So maybe that was a reasoning for having us in the same room. But I remember sitting there and I'd be sweating. I was sweating. Cold sweats. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm dripping, sweating this alcohol out. It's like the second day. And he going through it too. He over there, rolling. I remember him running to the restroom. It's poo coming out of him because he's trying to get to the restroom. He can't hold his bowels. And any person in the room with that would hop up and like, oh, I can't be in here. But that wasn't even my experience. I kind of was like, well, he going through it too. And I kind of rolled over and just, emotions, cold sweats. I want to drink and I'm shaking. Nurse come by, check your vitals, give you a little medication. Because alcohol is one of the drugs that you can die from when withdrawing. So if you're listening to this and your body will go through something I'm mentioning, you know that because you probably shake in the morning like I once did. Make sure to go to the detox or hospital. Don't try to do it on your own because you can pass away, from alcohol withdrawal. So just that experience, the 7 days in the detox. I remember talking to this older man. It's wild because that same detox I go into today and I speak to people in there. And I walk in there and it's so like surreal to be like I was in here a little bit over 5 years ago, going through what some of the people are now going through. And I share that every time, you know what I'm saying? But those experiences I'm mentioning, and as I speak, it's just more of it and more of it's coming out. And I'm really not even trying to get deep into my story because I want to when I share it, I want a lot of people to hear it. I'm very new to YouTube, and YouTube's not going to push my stories out just yet. So I don't want my story that's going to help a lot of people to fall into the wayside, and then I had to dig it back up and do it again. So I like to give my recovery advice, counselor advice, because I got both sides. See, when I take off my badge, when I leave the treatment center, I'm a recovered alcoholic. And I ain't saying I'm not one when I go into the treatment center, but walking to the treatment center, the ladies there call me Mr. Avram, and that's who I am. I'm a counselor. You know what I'm saying? But the empathy, the sympathy that I'm sharing right now, the way I can put myself in your shoes or vice versa, I think that's very important because sometimes when we're sober, 3, 5, 10, 20 years, we tend to step away from how hard it was. Not saying we forget, but we'll share on just how great it is, how great it is, how great it is. Where the newcomer ain't really trying to hear that because they're not there. So I usually try to keep my shares in the first year as far as where I'm at in my sobriety. How did I get there? Because the first year was the hardest. I couldn't go around family because my family get loaded. They like to drink and smoke their weed. And they don't have an issue. They know when to stop and go to work. I just don't know when to stop. See, on Sunday, I'm still drinking like it's Friday. I have an issue. I didn't cross the line. How far I have came now. But yeah, the isms. I got the isms for sure. But just know that there's 3 types of drinkers. The moderate drinker, the hard drinker, and the alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. I crossed that invisible line. There's no coming back for me. I cannot drink normally if my life depended on it. The great obsession to every addict and alcoholic is to be able to control and enjoy our drinking like we once did. And that's what most of us, or you, if anyone watching this that's still in your addiction, but you're fighting it, is to control you once had, you're trying to get back. And we'll never get that control back. See, I take a drink, I go to jail, and all type of crazy stuff happen in between. That's just my experience with alcohol. It hasn't changed. And I'm not here to test it to see if it has. My life is great today. And I just leave, I stay away from it. It doesn't bother me. if I don't bother it. So if I said anything that you can pick up from what I'm talking about, I hope the God in me touched the God in you, so you can grow in your sobriety. Get away from addiction. It's not good for no one. People are constantly dying. Somebody's dying right now as I speak this from addiction. Some form of it. So if you're listening to this, you have a great chance on living and living a better life. Just in general. So thank you for allowing me to share. Thank you for listening. Subscribe, like, comment, share, do all that good stuff, man. And you will hear me again. I got more coming.